Okay, so the first update I want to bring to your attention is maybe just a quick status update on the Go 9. Go 9 is obviously our latest flagship product, the latest version of our flagship product, the Go product. And maybe a little refresher on the Go product to those who are new to Geotab or newer to the Geotab product. The current product, or the previous product to the Go 9 that was worldwide reaching, was Go 7. Go 7 was probably our widest reaching product, the most global to date. It was really a redesign, a cost-effective solution to the previous compact solutions that we introduced years ago. Now, the Go 7 introduced along with it OTA updates for the device. So, Geotab innovates by software updates. We have a 3-month cycle for new updates to fix bugs, introduce new features, and continuously improve the overall experience and feature set of the Go product. And then as a stepping stone towards Go 9, we had to accelerate our efforts to bring an LTE product to market, especially in North America or in the US in particular. So we used the Go 8 in a limited launch in the US to introduce LTE connectivity using LTE Category 1. Obviously, that came with some challenges, given that the category or the technology was still relatively new. As some of you are familiar, the networks are continually being updated with new feature sets. The spec kept changing for several years, so it was extremely important for us to ensure that we can also OTA update the modems themselves as well. But like I said, it was a limited launch in the US. And that led to the Go 9, which is our main product today. The Go 9 was a hardware upgrade, so it was a platform upgrade. It maintained the same cellular technologies that we had worldwide. But in addition to upgrading the hardware, which we'll talk about a little bit in the next slide, we introduced a new provisioning process. I will talk a little bit more about that. And to enhance our OTA capabilities, we've now added the ability to be able to update our GPS chipset as well with any firmware updates that may come as bug fixes from our supplier. So what is the Go 9 and how is it different than the Go 7? If I were to maybe summarize in one statement or one feature, really what the Go 9 is giving us a longer runway to continue to update firmware in the field. We were reaching the limits of the Go 7 platform, which the Go 8 was also based on, in terms of being able to update firmware and add new features. We hit basically a physical limit of code space. So we basically upgraded the Go 9 processor with another one with 4 times the program memory and 5 times the RAM, and that gave us a much longer runway. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the LTE cellular technology that we introduced to the Go product a year earlier, which then really future-proofs your device for many years to come. We've also made some minor improvements here and there, especially mechanical, manufacturing related, to try and really scale our operation in terms of how many Go devices we can build, and given the growth that we've experienced over the years. Another main change that we added or enhanced is we added a GNSS chipset, replaced the existing GPS chipset with a GNSS capable one, and one that is updatable over the air. So this gives us the ability to use GPS, GLONASS, and some of the other technologies or some of the other systems, positioning systems that are out there. We cannot use them all at once, but we can use 2 at a time through a firmware configuration. We added a gyroscope to the existing accelerometer for better harsh driving, harsh cornering, and driving profiling in the future. This will all come as future firmware enhancements. And then obviously on the security side, FIPS 142 crypto module, which allowed us to get our FIPS certification, mostly important for our government customers. We added circuitry for water intrusion. So you may have seen it, you may have experienced it in the field. There's a log error that we can introduce to give you a heads up that the device has experienced some water intrusion. Even if the device is damaged, at least you're aware where the damage came from and what the reason was. And then another key one was the new provisioning process. So for those who are not familiar, you may have noticed that the Go devices take a little bit longer to activate and provision in the field. It takes maybe up to 10 minutes to get all 3 LEDs to be solid. I won't go into the details of how all of that works today, but the main reason we did that is to improve privacy, security, and reliability of the Go device. So how do we do that? Initially, when you first plug in your device, the Go 9 ships out of the building, out of Geotab, with basic firmware. All that firmware does is really attempt to connect to our main gateway. So until it does that, when it connects to the main gateway, it downloads its profile. It now knows what gateway it really belongs to, who the customer is, and what the exact configuration of it is. And while it's doing that, it's not really logging any GPS or engine data or any data that can potentially leak to a customer that was not intended or a third party. And that also enhances security of the device. The device itself, again, is limited in capability, so it's less accessible in general. And on the reliability side, it ensures that the device always has the latest and greatest firmware version before it becomes operable. So right after we download the profile and the configuration of the device, we download the latest available Go 9 firmware to the device, which also, by the way, updates all attached IOXs to the latest version of the IOX firmware. And only then will the device actually become operable. It'll start actually logging GPS and engine data and reporting it to the right gateway server on our side. So we're excited about that, and that is basically the path forward for all future Geotab products. Now, I'm happy to say that we are almost on par with the Go 7 in terms of how the countries that the Go 9 is available in. We launched our first version of the Go 9, our first SKU in the US back in March, and now we are in over 65 countries, or approved and certified in over 65 countries and 5 continents. But I want to stress something here, that in our continuous attempt to bring to you a Go device SKU in every region where there is an opportunity for it, there are a couple of things that we have to go through in addition to just the technology. So obviously we first have to ensure that we have the right LTE or connectivity technology in the region that you're in, and we also have the right partnership with a carrier that can bring us connectivity in that area. There's the certification piece, which ends up taking probably the longest out of all 3. But it is something that we are getting better at, something that we are getting more familiar with, and we continue to reduce that lead time between when the technology is ready and certification is done. And then there's some business requirements and business needs that need to be addressed, such as, can we do business in that country? Are we allowed to import product into that country? Do we need a local rep in that country, and so on? And it's all tied to opportunity. At the end of the day, we have to prioritize what SKUs we bring to you and in what regions, and that is all based and prioritized on opportunity. In terms of the LTE technologies, we've maintained an LTE Cat 1 modem with 3G fallback on the US AT&T network, and we are using the same technology in Canada and Mexico. So in Canada, all three products that we have there on all 3 carriers all use Cat 1 with 3G fallback, and as well as Mexico. On T-Mobile and Verizon, we're using a Cat 1 single mode LTE modem. And that was the case on the Go 8 as well, so we're maintaining the same coverage there that we had before. Globally, we decided to prioritize bringing the Go 9 platform to the rest of the world. So by doing that, we're using currently a global 3G, 2G modem, 5 3G bands and 4 2G bands. That allows us to accelerate our bringing of the Go 9 device in all the rest of the world. Now, that's not to say that we're not aware that obviously sunsets will come to the rest of the world as well, and that is what we are embarking on in the rest of 2020. We want to really, we're still trying to figure out what the right technology to use. I won't bore you with the details for those who are not familiar, but some of you might be. not all countries and all regions basically decided to deploy the same technology for various reasons. So we have to really try and keep the number of hardware SKUs to a minimum so we can build to scale. And thus we have to really make the right call here, and we have to take to do our research and work with our partners worldwide to figure out what technology we want to introduce in what region. But we're definitely focused on Europe next to bring LTE to that region, as well as LATAM and Asia. And just stay tuned on that. Along the same product line, the ruggedized version of the Go 9 is something that I'm happy to say is coming. You may have seen, or you're probably aware that the Go 9, that the Go 7 and Go 8 rugged are potted with resin. They're IP67 ruggedized impact resistance devices with more or less the same guts as the Go 7, Go 8. But with the Go 9, on the Go 9 side, we're moving away from that design. We're switching to a clamshell design that is hopefully a lot easier to build, a lot faster to build, potentially cheaper and easier to and lighter, which will allow us to ship it better with lower costs and an overall better experience building and shipping the device. What this will allow us to do also is, you may have noticed that we've only kept the Go Rugged limited to certain SKUs. With this design, we'll be able to really use the same guts as the Go 9, plug it into that clamshell and really customize whichever way we want. So whatever technology we decide to use on the Go 9 side in any given country, we'll be able to do a Go Rugged version for it as well, relatively easily. So we're really pushing hard with our off-road team to bring Go 9 rugged to more regions in the very near future. This is a Q2, that should say Q2 2020. I'll update that after the meeting, but that is coming relatively early this year. Obviously, it'll be IP68, and we put some focus on making sure that not just the enclosure, but also the cable and how it's inserted into the asset allows the device to continue to be tamper and theft resistant as well. And then perhaps you've heard some rumors or you've talked to some Geotabbers about this product, but we are working on a Wi-Fi capable or a hotspot capable Go 9 device. This is still much in development. More to come on this topic in the next few months, but it is something we are working on. It's going to look very much like the Go 9. It really is the same functionality and same feature set as the Go 9, just reshuffled to fit some extra hardware that we needed to introduce. Obviously, when you start talking about Wi-Fi connectivity, we needed a higher speed LTE modem, which comes with additional requirement of a second antenna and the Wi-Fi module itself and the Wi-Fi antenna. So we're trying to keep it as compact and as small and within the same form factor as the Go 9 as possible. And we believe we can get there. But there might be some slight shape and size differences. Apart from that, we feel that we're getting close to getting the technology down. We're actually going into field trials and field testing in our own vehicles this week and next week. So hopefully within maybe by the end of this quarter or next quarter, we'll be able to get some samples within your hands. But I want to stress here that there are other things that are also pending, and that's our next challenge is to, in addition to continue to improve the design, make sure it's manufacturable. We have to also figure out, the positioning of the product, especially as it pertains to data plan management. Throttling, capping of the data plan becomes much more important than it is on the Go 9. You're probably familiar with the Go 9 and how, we pass on the data plan to you at a fixed cost in most cases, and we handle the data management in the background through our relationships with the carriers. So how we go about it with the Go 9 Plus is yet to be determined, but at least now you're aware that we are working on it. I'm happy personally to speak to any of you regarding maybe use cases that you're familiar with, some challenges or some questions that you might have on this product. And this is the right time to start talking about that. It'll be very easy to use, completely configurable within my Geotab. This is just a mock-up from my Geotab. But essentially, you'll be able to change the SSID and the password from within my Geotab in a secure manner. The password will be encrypted and stored securely and safely within the My Geotab platform. And basically, you get into the car and you look for the SSID that comes pre-programmed with the device, and you connect to it and you put in your an existing password that we provide to you that we ask you to change at a later time, and off you go. Then you're connected, yeah, it should be as simple as that. So looking forward to this product. This is pretty much the main focus of the bulk of the hardware and firmware development team at this moment. So we're happy that it's coming along. On the IOX side, I have good news and maybe a little bit less good news, I would say. So I'll start with the good news. So we're continuing to support and enhance our IOX platform by ensuring that it is as manufacturable and as low a lead time to you as possible. So what we've had to do in order to achieve that, and we know that some of you may have run into this, where you've had an opportunity to supply a customer with a large order of a particular IOX, and you were hit with a long lead time to get that done. So what we have done is we've really consolidated the design as much as possible. The guts of the IOX, the PCB that's on the inside, we've consolidated 6 different combinations of the board into just one design that allows us to then go and forecast and pipeline all the components that go into that design well in advance without necessarily knowing it or having a very accurate forecast of each and every IOX flavor in advance. It also allows us to, the design will be such that it's customizable at a much later stage in the production process by just adding the peripherals to the device at a later time. So the less good news is that there's no change in functionality. Every IOX flavor will be backward compatible with its predecessor. But for example, IOX aux-M will maintain the same functionality as the new aux-M. Obviously, in the future, though, with software updates, there might be opportunity to improve and enhance the feature sets or even add to them. This will affect most IOXs that exist today, except the 3 that I have there: NFC reader, IOX Bluetooth, and GoTalk. These are unique designs that don't fall in this category, so those will remain unimpacted. And we are going into beta mid-Q1, maybe even earlier than that. Expect an announcement in the next couple of weeks, I would say, announcing 5 different IOXs available in beta that we are happy to share in limited quantities with you free of charge, so you can help us test them out and bring them to market as soon as possible. So all the details will be in that announcement, and we'll get it out to you as soon as possible. We are also working on a new platform, a new IOX platform that will be a stepping stone into the future of the IOX, an IOX that is smarter, an IOX that is more capable of processing more complex applications, an IOX that is more customizable, and an IOX that is capable of high-speed communication as well through Wi-Fi and Bluetooth integrations. We are embarking on that journey first with an IOX dedicated to winter operations, which are a key component of the public works space. So this is a new platform that will impact potentially, if not all, many other IOXs to come in the future. And initially, with the winter operations, it'll provide an end-to-end solution for winter operations, both hardware and software, completely integrated with the winter operations of public works module in my Geotab, which you'll hear about in other presentations as well later today. It'll be completely firmware updatable, configurable in my admin for asset compatibility, and it will eventually replace most, if not all, of our existing substance controller, or spreader controller IOXs that we have. Some of you might be familiar: IOX Dickie John, Rexroth, CompuSpread, and so on. So this is obviously a BSM technology that we are converting into an IOX technology that plugs into the Go device, also eventually replacing the existing 10x BSM device, which is a connected device. And with the introduction of BSM or integration of BSM into Geotab, we're able to eliminate the connectivity piece from the one device by making it just an IOX that plugs into the Go device. That is something that we're pushing hard for mid this year, obviously before the next winter season starts. And yeah, that's IOX Winter Ops. Obviously, we'll see what the name is, the official name. We don't want to make it too long, but that's yet to be determined. We are also working on another IOX, that is basically an IOX-based battery backup for the Go device and Go Rugged. So this is really more of a last gap type IOX for when the Go device is unplugged and you want to detect that it has been unplugged rather than wait until it's plugged back in before you get all the logs, and you determine when it was unplugged and plugged back in. Obviously, this is for asset security, asset recovery, also for ensuring that data or accident data gets uploaded to our server in the case of an accident where the accident causes a disconnect in power to the Go device, and other use cases where it can help resist with tampering and so on. It'll be compatible with the Go 9 and Go 9 Rugged. It will most likely also be compatible with older versions of the Go product of the Go device, but not Go 7 and Go 9, Go 8 Rugged at this stage. And depending on the algorithm or on the exact logic that we implement in the firmware, we'll be able to get it to at least last up to potentially 36 hours. If we scale back the functionality once the device is plugged or unplugged to just heartbeats every few hours. But the guaranteed functionality, I guess, is that once the device loses power, it'll at least be able to report back to the server that it has been unplugged and upload any remaining data in its buffer. Okay, so onto the marketplace. How are we doing on time? Good. Okay, so marketplace hardware buy now. So this is a customer accessible. These are customer accessible products on the marketplace. Just to remind most of you or all of you what the software buy now functionality was that was introduced on the marketplace a couple of years ago. This is basically the ability of the customer themselves in my Geotab being able to go into the marketplace section in my Geotab, browse to the solution that they want to install in their database, and with one click install it and have it basically bill the Geotab reseller and subscribe their devices or their database to a specific rate plan that is all displayed to them on the marketplace solution page. So we have now worked on introducing the same concept to hardware products, and we're starting with the Geotab hardware base. So it's Geotab hardware only at this point, and it's also all pricing that would be associated with that will be in USD, both on the marketplace and in the My Admin sections that we introduced to the resellers to configure and customize the solution. And the workflow is as follows. So the My Geotab customer basically browses to the solution that they want from within their My Geotab database. Publicly, on the public website, there won't be any indication of any products being buy now or any pricing or anything like that. So you have to be logged into your database. You browse to the solution. You hit buy now, enter the quantity that you want. You enter your shipping information, and you submit your order. All that does really is create a pending order for the reseller in My Admin. So it generates a PO number for the customer. It gives them a confirmation that the order has been processed once we hear back from My Admin that everything was successful. And the reseller receives a pending order and an email confirming that an order has been submitted with all the information. And then the reseller has to still go in and modify the order, approve it, cancel it, change it up. Business as usual at that point. And like I hinted a little bit earlier, all emails and all communication at this stage from Geotab is with the reseller also. So the customer does receive a confirmation page with a PO number, and we also give them a reminder of who their reseller is and their contact information. We ask them to save that page. But from that point onward, when the order is submitted and when the order is shipped or fulfilled and shipped and delivered, all the communication will be to the reseller with a reminder in every email of who the customer was that ordered it, from what database, and the details of the order. There are various controls that we introduced in my Geotab, or we've kind of rejigged in my Geotab and reused from the software buy now solution to help control who gets access. So there's always the option to disable the marketplace altogether. From my Geotab, you can also disable or limit who has access to view pricing on my Geotab. And if you disable pricing for a particular user, they won't be able to see the solution altogether on the marketplace if it has a price associated with it. Or you can choose to let them see the pricing but not allow them to purchase. That is all configurable by the My Geotab admin, just like any other security clearance. More importantly, we're obviously allowing the reseller to customize pricing from within my admin. Every reseller and every customer have their own needs, and the value of the product could be different to different audiences depending on the region, depending on the use case, depending on whatever circumstances the reseller and the customer have. So the pricing is completely customizable, at least on the hardware, on the physical hardware piece. And it is customizable at an ERP level and at a database level. So you can go and override the MSRP that Geotab suggests to one single price that applies to all your customers. On top of that, you can add another layer of customizing the price to any given customer using their database name in my admin. Additionally, for any hardware that is associated with the rate plan, we've added the ability to select a rate plan. We're not displaying rate plan pricing information at this stage on the marketplace because we don't have the ability to offer the reseller the ability to customize the pricing of the rate plans yet. But at least the customer will be able to say, well, I want to be on, I'm ordering 10 Go9s and I want to choose Pro Plus on these devices. But just like all the other information that we pass on from my Geotab to my admin, we're just parking that information in a pending order, including the rate plan itself. So when you as a reseller go into my admin and you see the order, you can still change the rate plan from the drop-down menu if you believe that this customer may have made an error in selecting a rate plan, or you have an arrangement with them to ship everything on base. You can still do that before you approve the order. Additionally, shipping information is passed on again from my Geotab to my admin, but we don't populate the pending order with that shipping information. We give it to you in the comments section. That gives you the flexibility to either have the product shipped to you. You may choose as a reseller to have it shipped to you, add other products to it, and then ship it to your customer. Or you may use the information that was provided by the customer to have it shipped to them. All pricing, there's going to be legal text, obviously, and additional text that indicates to the customer clearly that all final pricing will come from the reseller. It's the reseller that bills the customer, not Geotab. And the pricing that we are showing on the My Geotab side is merely the cost of the product itself, or the price of the product itself, not including any shipping or tax additions that may come from the reseller. And all the customer information obviously is cached in the browser or in my Geotab, so that returning customers can have even a faster, more seamless experience reordering the same products in the future. So I have a couple of screens here that I'll go through. What we're looking at initially here is basically how to make an order in my Geotab. It's pretty straightforward. You put in the quantity, you put in the shipping information, which are not mandatory, and then while it's spinning, it's basically submitting the order to my admin. Once you see this screen, you're now basically at a point where you can say the product is confirmed to have been ordered. You may have noticed, we'll go back to it now, we do display a purchase order number, which is the same one that the reseller sees on my admin. So it's ordering, it's processing, and then PO number and all the reseller information. This is just another example of the Go9. So additionally, there's one extra field in this case where the customer can select the rate plan, and then the same process from that point onward. Also on the My Geotab side, the ability of the customer to revisit what orders were made, who made the orders. So you can see here in the screenshot or in the GIF, we do provide a log of all the PO numbers or all the purchases that were made along with their PO numbers, the products that were ordered, who ordered them, at what price, and so on. This is a record for the customer to go back to at any point in time if they want to go back and follow up with their reseller. Because as a reminder, at this point, we're no longer communicating with the customer. All communication going forward is with the reseller. On the MyAdmin side for the reseller, you go to the marketplace section in MyAdmin. For those who are not familiar, you can select your ERP account if you manage multiple ones. You select the product, and when you get to the next page, you can go and edit pricing. On the first line, you can basically reset the price to your entire customer base, or you can customize pricing for one given customer, or a list of customers, and that will get populated in the table below, which allows you to see later, what customizations you've made, make changes to them, delete them, or modify them. This just shows you how to revert back all the price customization that you've done. Once you delete all pricing customization, the product will always fall back to the MSRP that was defined by Geotab. So in conclusion, really what the next step really is here, we feel that we're at a stage where we can start launching this program, at least on a limited number of hardware, mid to end of Q1. I'm shooting for February. What will happen is as a reseller, you'll get an email announcing which products are going to follow this program initially, with a 2-week grace period to go and modify your pricing. So we'll give you enough time now and in the future, with the introduction of new products in the future, when you get the announcement as a reseller that, hey, this product is new, let's say we introduce another IOX in the future, you'll always have a grace period to go and modify your pricing before we expose the product and its pricing on the marketplace. And obviously, it's a long journey. It's something that we want to continue to update and enhance to improve the experience for both customers and resellers as much as possible. For example, we want to work on product grouping. Right now, we don't have the ability to group multiple SKUs or multiple products on one single marketplace solution page. So that is next on our list. Shopping cart functionality, so you can select multiple hardware on the marketplace and then put them in a shopping cart and then maybe do the purchase at a later time, or at least consolidate the purchase under one transaction. We want to consolidate the software and hardware buy now experiences as much as possible. There are some slight differences, as you might see, in how you enable, disable, customize each software and hardware solution. So we want to really consolidate and make the whole experience as seamless as possible. Customer emails in the future, we may want to choose to maybe help the reseller communicate with the customer and keep them at least updated on the status of their order. And then multi-currency support for regions outside the US. Now, obviously, you can still operate today in other regions, but you just have to be mindful that all pricing that is displayed to your customers is in US dollars. On the MyAdmin side, your transactions with Geotab will be in whatever currency your ERP is on. And I hope I didn't miss anything with that. We can conclude, and I'm pretty sure we should have some time for questions. Do you want me to open the live questions feed screen, or yeah? And while this loads, by the way, this is my contact information. If you want to talk to me about Go9 Plus, IOX Battery, IOX Mid-Drops, I'd be happy to hear from you. So take that down. Okay, so this page loaded. So will Go9 Rugged be available on Verizon? I would expect so. Like I said, it would be very easy, relatively easy for us to customize in the future. Go ahead.
So with the marketplace, can you set it up to allow purchase of certain SKUs and not others? So that, say, you would allow harness purchases but not the actual Go device purchases?
The long-term goal is to make all Geotab products buy now. But the initial launch in February will be limited until we build out the functionality of being able to group products together.
Well, I guess to restrict so that people aren't setting up, service agreements that they can't actually complete that contract through the site.
Right. It won't be, that capability, if I understand your question correctly, won't be available to the reseller in MyAdmin, but it is something we can work with you on the Geotab side.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a question here.
With the new Go Rugged clamshell design, is that about the size of the Go 9 device currently, or is it smaller, bigger, about the same size?
The Rugged?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I expect it to be within the same form factor as the existing device, but obviously a lot lighter.
Yeah. You referenced that order history would be visible. Is that historic order or only ones that are going through that buy now tool?
In the audit log in my Geotab,
Yeah,
all the orders that were processed through my Geotab will be there.
So any, regardless of how they funnel through, like
Right.
ones that we've placed?
Yeah, and then if the order gets canceled on my admin, we don't cancel. Like that's just an audit log of the transaction being made. It's not really a log of what the status of the order is in my admin.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Musa, just for clarification, so the hardware buy now link that's going to be on my Geotab, is this something that resellers will have the ability to enable or disable from within?
Yeah, so same answer. Basically, when a product becomes buy now, especially Geotab products, the reseller won't have the ability to enable and disable at a customer level or at an ERP level, but it is something that we can work with the reseller on based on what it is what their concern might be or what their specific needs is. Any other questions? Oh, there's a couple.
Where can we see this the list of these 65 countries
So there is a public document. If you want to leave me your contact information after, I'll share it with you. So there's a public document that you can access. And basically see the exact SKU that is used in every country where a product is available.
Great presentation, thank you. You talked about the new rugged device, you talked about the battery IOX. Is there any talk of developing a self-enclosed battery-powered device with like a lithium battery or something for tracking assets, things like generators or things that tend to walk away, cargo containers, trailers without power, that you can just screw this thing on and it just tracks its location for a period of time?
Like a Geotab grown asset tracker, essentially, yeah.
That's
so
right.
Obviously we have several partners on the marketplace that do that already. We do have some projects in R&D on the Geotab side to do that as well. But also through the BSM acquisition, there's a group by the name Latlong that was part of that acquisition that belonged in BSM, and they specialize in asset tracking as well. And there are a number of asset trackers that we're looking to integrate with my Geotab and introduce. But that's still in the early stages. We'll be able to share more on that pretty soon. But that's obviously now a Geotab asset tracker.
So I know you mentioned on the order forms or the ability to order from a customer level. Will that be something that, I know you mentioned that we can essentially not turn it off, but would it be security clearance driven, or would it be just anyone who has access to the database can kind of open up an order at any time?
It will be security based driven. So on the My Geotab side, as an admin, you can restrict who can see price or who can see buy now solutions altogether, and who can purchase them. Yeah.
And so right off the bat, that'll be something we can at least monitor to
and it'll be limited. By default, it'll only be available to admins, and then admins can grant that security clearance to others. So do we set prices on customer DBs one by one, or so you can if you don't want to go through or if you don't have a need to customize on a per customer basis, you don't have to. So you can just override the MSRP for all of your customers, but you also do have the ability to customize. You just type in the database name and you add in a price for that database, and that's it. What is the time frame for Go 8 on Verizon for sunset? So there's a session today, later on today, about that topic. It's going to target more the sooner sunsets that are happening on the 3G side. The Go 8 on Verizon is actually, okay, maybe there's some confusion here. The Go 8 on Verizon is an LTE product, so we won't be sunsetting that anytime soon. Any previous versions on Verizon, Go 7 and earlier, would be 1x RTT based, and there's a session on that at 4 p.m. today by Stephanie who's going to talk more about that. Can you speak a little more on the duration of the IOX battery? I believe you mentioned 36 hours. Yes, so there 36 hours. We're pushing for more, to be completely frank, but don't quote me on that. We're pushing for several days, but that's obviously if we scale down the functionality down to just heartbeats. If we maintain full functionality, it'll be, in the minutes, hours type thing within the same day. But if we scale it back to just heartbeats, we're saying 36 hours. All likelihood, it'll be a little bit longer than that. Any other questions? One more.
With the battery add-on,
Yeah.
If that happens, is it going to be visible that it's running off battery power as opposed to, or will there be some type of indication that the actual Go device is not reporting and now it's running off of battery power?
Absolutely, yeah. There's almost definitely going to be at least a log that indicates the device has lost power and has fallen back on. We also notice from the frequency of the logs and the data that is coming through also that it is on battery. Additionally, something maybe I didn't mention is that obviously if the Go Rugged is the first in line among other IOXs, it'll unpower. It won't allow the rest of the IOXs to function either. So just to reduce the power consumption as much as possible. Anything else? All right, thanks guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.